Welcome to Week 2 of Digital Strategy in Action. This week, we have 5 objectives. First, we'll define the 5 elements of strategy. Next, we'll identify the tools used to evaluate the competitive position of a business and supply data sources to apply these tools to your digital business. We'll then use these tools to identify a product or service that will enable your digital business to deliver a quantum value leap to customers. And finally, we'll articulate the 5 elements of strategy for your digital business. In order to achieve these goals, we'll explore a framework for articulating strategy, the 5 elements of strategy, and the tools you'll need to assess whether a digital business strategy will produce big market share gains. To understand those tools, you will read articles that define them and provide examples of how they are applied, and then complete a field research assignment. In addition, you will contribute your thoughts on this week's topics to the discussion forum and write about what you've learned in your reflection journal. Finally, you should complete the knowledge check and watch the wrap-up video, which will summarize the key things you should have learned during the week and introduce the 3rd week of the course. Let's start this week by asking 2 simple questions. What is strategy? And how can you tell a good strategy from a bad one? First, strategy is choice. More specifically, strategy is a bundle of internally consistent choices about where a company competes and how it will win in that arena. More specifically, a strategy contains a leader's choices regarding specific questions, such as which product should we sell and what should our prices be? Which groups of customers should we seek to sell our products? In which geographic areas should we operate? How should we conduct key business activities, such as distribution, product development, purchasing, manufacturing, human resource management, and sales and service? Why should customers buy our products over competitors? How will we implement our strategy? And finally, how will we make money? Since I have studied and helped create many strategies, I've had the chance to consider what makes the difference between a good strategy and a bad one. The simple answer is that a good strategy yields rapid market share gains for a startup and enables a big company to maintain its market share despite the onslaught of challengers. This measurable outcome of a good strategy begs the question, why do some strategies yield market share gains and most don't? Here are some general principles of effective strategies. The most effective strategies are customer-focused. That is, they seek to make life better for customers, and they assume that regardless of how happy a customer may be with your product now, he or she will always be expecting something better. To gain market share, a company must offer customers a better bundle of benefits for the money, what I call value, than competitors do. Since buying from a startup is so risky, because most startups fail, a startup must deliver what I call a quantum value leap, at least a 10-fold better value than do competing products. Giving millions of customers a QVL every time they buy is extremely challenging. It depends on superior execution. And such execution requires performing individual business activities well and coordinating those activities so that customers give your company a very high Net Promoter Score, a measure of their eagerness to recommend your company to others. Finally, a good strategy keeps changing so that a company is always ahead of evolving customer needs, new technologies, and an increasingly difficult competitive environment. There are many examples of great digital strategies. Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix are 3 companies that are growing at over 20% annually, even as they are topping $10 billion in revenues and making a profit. Their ability to keep growing profitably is compelling evidence of their ability to formulate and execute effective digital strategies that follow these 4 principles.